Missouri women charged with murdering 5-year-old by allegedly hog-tying her to a futon and gagging her with a sock for stealing food. How did we get here? I don't know who convinced these women or how they convinced each other that this is the best way, the only way to chastise a child, because being bound and gagged is a complete and total nightmare for grown adults, let alone a 5-year-old, is not what you associate with child rearing and parenting, is what you put in a box with torture and torment. 2 women in Missouri were arrested this week on a slew of felony charges for allegedly killing a 5-year-old girl who was hog-tied and gagged with a sock in her mouth in an effort to prevent the child from stealing food, police said. First off, intruders steal. A 5-year-old child that lives under your roof is doing nothing more than sneaking snacks. So you do one of two things. Either you put the snacks away or you feed the child because they're probably hungry. And the way the story is reading, most likely that girl was hungry. Angela West, 40, and Shamira Buford, 36, were taken into custody on Tuesday and both charged with second-degree murder, first-degree involuntary manslaughter, abuse or neglect of a child resulting in death, and first-degree endangering the welfare of a child in connection with the little girl's death, authorities announced. So now the question should be, what was going on within that household that tying up a child and stuffing a sock in her mouth is on the table as a form of punishment? What other penalties, what type of minefield did these kids have to navigate on a day-to-day basis? According to a press release from the Waynesville Police Department, on the morning of March 7th, a young student contacted a Waynesville school resource officer and reported that prior to arriving at school, he saw that his younger sister was unconscious and unresponsive on the floor in their home. The resource officer immediately contacted the police, who responded to the residence located in the 700 block of Washington Street, which is about 140 miles southwest of St. Louis. That's very forward thinking by that child to understand that there was something very wrong with his little sister. And if he couldn't contact 911 flat out, then the next best thing would be to tell an adult at the school, because if these women were left alone with that girl's body for a full school day, no telling how they would have tried to cover it up. Upon arriving at the home, first responders say they made contact with another one of the reporting child siblings. The second child answered the door and stated that her younger sibling was deceased inside the residence. This is a house full of kids that have to witness this. Officers made entry and confirmed that one person, a 5-year-old female, was unconscious and unresponsive, the release states. After the Waynesville officers secured the area, the victim was pronounced deceased on the scene by Pulaski County Coroner Roger Graves. So the difference between first-degree murder and second-degree murder: first-degree murder means that you flat out intended to kill someone. Second-degree murder means that they died as a result of what you did. This might be the worst case of second-degree murder that I've ever heard, because they hog-tied this little girl and stuffed the sock in her mouth and walked away from her. Nobody checked on her. They just left her to die. The 2 adult females in the residence, later identified as West and Buford, were subsequently taken into custody and transported to the Pulaski County Jail. County Circuit Judge Colin Long ordered both of the defendants to be held without bond pending additional proceedings. According to the report, West and Buford were both asleep when police arrived at their home around 8:50 a.m., and the child who answered the door told the officers that their younger sibling had choked. It was reportedly Buford who then found the child's body covered by a blanket in the living room. You know what's nasty about this is that with 2 adults in the household, they both had to be on board with this. Not one of them said, hell no, you're not going to do this to that child. They both went to sleep when the cops came. They were still in bed, not a care in the world. Police said that the deceased girl appeared to have significant ligature marks around her wrists, ankles, and neck. She was struggling. A gray sock that was saturated in an unknown substance and appeared to have blood on it was found next to the child's body. Columbia ABC affiliate KMIZ reported the child, who made the initial report, allegedly told police that both women had been tying up his little sister at night for several weeks because she steals food, KOLR reported. Another child reportedly said West and Buford would make the 5-year-old siblings help tie her up to a futon. These women are savages. These women are monsters. Whatever the max penalty is, it's not enough for them. This girl was not stealing. She was hungry. And instead of giving her a snack before she went to bed, you invited her own siblings to help torture her. According to KOLR, Buford admitted to police that she and West would tie up the 5-year-old because she continued to steal food. So putting the food away or just giving her something to eat before she went to bed, that did not cross their minds. This is what they came up with. They allegedly began by using duct tape and eventually moved on to hog tying the child using nylon rope. Buford also allegedly admitted that they used the sock to gag the child because her whining and crying kept the other children up at night, reports say. There's no reality, there's no scenario that I can run through in my head that would justify such severe, brutal punishment of this little girl at the hands of the people who were closest to her. I thought she was okay because she could breathe through her nose, West reportedly said in a reference to the sock. Let's test that theory. Let me put my hands over your mouth for 5, 6, 7 hours and see how you make out. Buford and West are scheduled to appear before Judge Long for a bond review on March 13th, court records show.